Sumter County proposed $441.8 million budget. Sumter County residents likely to face a substantial increase in fire assessment fees. Villagers not ready to welcome neighboring covered pickleball pavilion. Villager who applied for a job with a cab company learns he has a suspended license. A villager was sentenced to anger management after a brawl with a pastor. A man was arrested after allegedly molesting a 13-year-old he met at a restaurant in the Villages. An angry resident threatens to file 1,000 complaints over non-compliant homes. CDD2 supervisors want to limit deed compliance complaints to the district residents. 45 golf cart crashes in the second quarter in Sumter County. A villager was arrested after attempting to leave an accident at Winn-Dixie. An unlicensed driver from Mexico arrested after spotted driving a car with a burned-out headlight. A villager takes a golf cart ride down U.S. Highway 301. This and more coming up. Sumter County proposes $441.8 million for 2023-2024, holds the line on property tax rate while boosting the number of employees and collecting $40 million in revenue bonds for capital projects. The proposed property tax rate of about $5.20 per 1,000 assessed value would be a 7% reduction from this year's rate of $5.59. The rate would be at a rollback rate, the amount needed to collect the same amount of revenue as the prior year. County tax rates have been set at the rollback rate for the past decade, except in 2019 when a 25% tax rate increase led to the ouster of 3 commissioners in the 2020 election. And go back and read about that. That turned into a fiasco. And I believe till this day, somebody set up somebody. Business and industrial growth includes site planning for the Representative Marlene O'Toole Industrial Park, a rail spur at the Governor Rick Scott Industrial Park, trucking companies near Interstate 75 and State Road 44, and expansion of existing manufacturers. Over there at 44 and 75 is where they're trying to destroy the historic town of Royal. If you don't know about that story, read up on it. The county would add 27 firefighter paramedic positions, bringing the total number to 174. 22 new positions would be added to the sheriff's office for a total of 404 employees. New positions include 4 dispatchers, 4 traffic deputies, 4 regular deputies, 6 detention officers, a latent print examiner, a financial crimes detective, a victim's advocate, and a court supervisor. 4 animal services technicians and 3 animal technician supervisors also would be added for a total of 24 employees. That's where all the tax dollars going. So when somebody says we got to stop this building, you're pointing the finger at the developer. He's not your problem. It's your Wildwood commissioners. They're not going to stop this building because they're money hungry and the growth is good and they're getting more and more money to get bigger and bigger and have more police, more libraries, more everything. That's not going to stop. Sumter County residents are likely to face a substantial increase in fire assessment fees for the year 2023 through 24, which begins October 1. A recent study recommended boosting the annual fee to $323.24 for homeowners from the current rate of $124, an increase of 161%. That's crazy. Commissioners voted Tuesday night to schedule a public hearing on a revised fire assessments at 6 p.m. August 22 at the Everglades Recreation Center at 5497 Marsh Bend Trail. That's down by Sawgrass, actually, down that area. The county needs to collect about $40 million in fire assessment fees against the cost of both departments, according to the study. Sumter County's 84,300 dwelling units accounted for nearly 7% of the cost of $27.6 million of the assessable budget. The share for commercial property was about 21%, or $8.5 million. Other property types accounted for less. Next year, proposed expenditures for Sumter County Fire and EMS are $24.2 million, while the village's public safety department's operating budget calls for expenditures of $34.5 million. Pickleball may be growing in popularity, but neighbors of a proposed covered court are skeptical about its location near their home. At a meeting Tuesday of the Wildwood Planning and Zoning Board, Special Magistrate Lindsay C.T. Holt recommended approval of a comprehensive plan amendment and rezoning to commercial for the Pinnacle Pickleball Pavilion on County Road 44A near State Road 44. The recommendation was contingent on acceptance of a traffic analysis by Sumter County. The cover course on a 4-acre site across from the village of Lake Deaton, owned by MGE Holdings, would use a design technique known as fabric texture, in which a fabric cover would offer protection from the sun, rain, and other elements. The complex would not be built on land owned by the villages and likely would not be accessible by golf cart. David Bernard, who lives on Infinity Run across from 44A from the proposed pavilion, is unsure whether it would be an asset to his neighborhood. Our major concern is the sound. It is right behind our house. Bernard said he is also concerned about the hours of operation. Wildwood planner Sean Raja said buffering would be considered when the site plan is proposed. I've said this 100 times and I'll say it again. You buy a house because there's nobody behind you. There's no guarantee it will stay that way. And here's an example. They bought these houses. There's nothing behind them. They thought it'd be peace and quiet, a nice place to have coffee in the morning. Now they're going to get a pickleball pavilion built in their backyard. And they can complain about it all they want. Unless there's a safety concern or something, Wildwood is going to approve it because tax dollars. A villager who applied for a job with a cab company learned he has a suspended license. Dustin Michael Kellermeyer, 43, who lives at 1003 Oren Avenue in the village of Silver Lake, was driving a silver Ford Mustang when he disobeyed a stop sign while pulling onto Highway 441 according to the arrest report. During a traffic stop in a Walgreens parking lot, the Indiana native admitted he did not have insurance on the car, claiming he just bought it. What difference does that make? Kellermeyer handed the deputy a South Carolina driver's license, which turned out to be suspended. Kellermeyer admitted he had applied for a job with a cab company about an hour earlier, and the cab company informed him that his license was suspended. During an inventory of the car, the deputy found Kellermeyer's Florida identification card and check revealed Kellermeyer's Florida driver's license has been canceled. Not suspended, canceled. He was arrested on a charge of driving without a license. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $500 bond. A villager has been sentenced to anger management after a brawl last year with the pastor at his church. Did you hear that? After a brawl last year with the pastor of his church. Douglas Keith Musey, 74, the village of Liberty Park, this week in Marion County, pleaded no contest to 2 counts of battery on a person over the age of 65. He has been ordered to complete 8 hours of anger management and perform 80 hours of community service. He also has been placed on probation for 18 months. He was arrested after an altercation in October at Trinity Lutheran Church in Summerfield. The 80-year-old president of the church said that Massey grabbed him by the throat and choked him during an event where food was being prepared in the church kitchen, according to the arrest report. Massey, who stands 6 feet 2 inches tall, weighs 260 pounds, went on to grab an 82-year-old senior pastor and put him in a headlock. Massey then punched the senior pastor in the face. During the altercation, the clergyman's glasses were broken. The incident was captured on the church's surveillance system, and there was a witness. The report indicated Massey skipped a court date in November and forfeited his bond. He spent 28 days in jail. Never a dull moment in the villages. A 20-year-old man has been arrested after allegedly molesting a 13-year-old girl he met at a restaurant in the villages. Hector Guzman Perez of Summerfield is facing felony charges of lewd and lascivious molestation and using a communication device to facilitate a felony following his arrest Tuesday by Marion County Sheriff's deputies. The girl was working rolling silverware at the restaurant in the villages when she met Guzman Perez, who also worked there. The name of the restaurant was redacted from the report. During the forensic interview in June, the girl said Guzman Perez told her he was 16. He asked for her phone number, and they began to talk over the phone. When the girl was spending the night with her grandmother, she told her grandmother she was going out with a friend and got picked up down the road by Guzman Perez, who was at the wheel of a white Toyota Camry. They drove to a Speedy Food Mart in Ocala and sat in a car in the parking lot. Guzman Perez announced his friend was here. It made the girl touch his penis. Hey, I'm just reading it. I don't know if I want to read the rest. Let's just say she touched it until things happened. The girl asked to be taken home. The two continued communicating by text and exchanged explicit photographs, which were later discovered on the girl's phone by her mother, who also worked at the restaurant and was familiar with Guzman Perez. When he was arrested at the home on Tuesday, Guzman Perez admitted, "We all have to pay for our mistakes at some point." Yes, you do. He was booked at the Marion County Jail on a $15,000 bond. Grandma, keep an eye on your granddaughter. An angry resident has threatened to file 1,000 complaints over non-compliant homes in the villages. Charles Swafford of the village of Bel Air made the threat Friday morning before the Community Development District 3 Board of Supervisors at Savannah Center. He said he is angry over the sod versus stone controversy that most recently has upset residents of the La Crescenta Villas, which is located in a community development district. In a series of public hearings on June 23rd, the CDD2 supervisors ruled that Patioville owners will have to remove rock and replace it with sod. "This is nonsense. With the rocks has to end," Swafford said. He claimed it is a widespread problem throughout the villages. Every house in the villages is out of compliance. That's not true. Mine's not. "I am going to file 1,000 complaints with the community standards. I have had it," he said. He held up a recording device and threatened to use it to report what he sees as deed compliance violations. Notice he says what he sees as deed compliance. Doesn't necessarily mean that they are. "We need a regional community standards department and not make the old ladies rip out the rock." The answer to all these problems about compliances: check with your deed restrictions before you do anything. Don't break them, and you got no problem. Swafford's threat of deed compliance vigilantism via deed compliance complaint comes at a time when several CDDs are looking to tighten up the process, limiting complaints to residents of the CDD street or neighborhood. Common sense. I think that's exactly what should be done a long time ago. People in CDD2 should not be able to come down to, say, District 10 and make anonymous complaints. It's none of their damn business what happens in 10, just like it's none of our business what happens to CDD2. That's their neighborhood. That's the way it should be. Common sense in this world. Where did it go? A Community Development District 2 supervisor wants to limit deed compliance complaints to district residents. CDD2 supervisor have already abolished the anonymous complaint process. Supervisor Tom Sweers on Friday proposed to change to its rules that would limit complaints to residents of CDD2, which includes Alhambra, Harmswood of Bel Air, Santiago, Santo Domingo, and Unit 21 in Palo Alto. I don't think we should have a person outside District 2 making a complaint in our district. I agree. Deputy District Manager Carrie Duckett said more information on the suggestion will be presented at a special district-wide meeting set for 1:30 p.m. Monday, July 17th. Duckett noted that other CDDs have explored similar limitations on complaints with regard to deed compliance. After CDD2 dropped the anonymous complaint process, the change has been noted at the Community Standards Department in the behavior of callers, who are now asked to provide their name, address, and phone number when making complaints. Some have been willing to give their contact information, and others have hung up. There were 45 golf cart crashes in the second quarter of 2023 in the Sumter County portion of the villages. Captain Robert Seimer reported in a figure in his quarterly law enforcement updates Friday before Community Development District 1, 2, and 3 boards of supervisors at Savannah Center. While that number might seem high, Seimer noted that there are 50,000 golf carts in the villages. That number goes all over the place. I've seen that number as high as 60-some thousand. I don't think anybody really knows because we don't register them, so there's no way they can actually count. He said the 45 golf cart crashes, while unfortunate, would be considered about normal for the villages. Is that an insult? That's about normal for all the drunk drivers we got out there. He also reported there were 22 golf cart tickets issued in April, May, and June by the Sheriff's Office. In addition, there were 366 vehicle crashes in the second quarter of the year in Sumter County portion of the villages. There were 561 traffic tickets issued to automobile drivers. A villager was arrested after attempting to leave an accident at Winn-Dixie. Kenneth Eric Sawyer, 59, of the village of Mallory Square, was involved in a crash shortly before 3 p.m. Thursday at La Plaza Grande, according to a arrest report from the Lady Lake Police Department. Officers found Sawyer behind the grocery store, and he said he was attempting to flee the accident scene due to the other driver threatening him. He handed an officer his passport and claimed his driver's license has been reinstated a week ago. However, a computer check showed Sawyer's license had been suspended due to delinquent child support. What? An old guy living in the villages and he's delinquent on child support. Does it go back that many years? It also revealed that Sawyer has 4 prior arrests for driving while license suspended, including one in 2021. The Pennsylvania native was arrested on a charge of driving while license suspended. He was booked at the Lake County Jail and released after posting a $1,000 bond. An unlicensed driver from Mexico was arrested after he was spotted driving a car with a burned-out headlight. Juan Velasca Rosa, I don't even know. The name will be in the video. 26 was driving a gray Toyota Venza with North Carolina license plate shortly after 9 p.m. Wednesday in Central Hill when he was pulled over by Sumter County Sheriff's deputy. Rosa only spoke Spanish, but the deputy who initiated the traffic stop was bilingual and was able to communicate with him. Rosa was identified by his Mexican passport. He said he has been living in Florida for 8 months and has been in the United States for 3 years. He admitted he did not have a driver's license either here in the United States nor in the other country. He claimed he was in the process of obtaining a driver's license. Velasco Rosas was arrested on a charge of driving without a license. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $500 bond. Oh, geez. I get so sick of seeing these pictures of people that live in the villages that have no real good reason to even be here. A village of Springdale man has been nabbed for the second time this year while riding an unlicensed moped. Brian Dean Lee, 30, who lists an address at 9336 Southeast 173rd Hyacinth Street, was riding the black moped at 9:50 a.m. Wednesday on US 301 when a Wildwood police officer noticed he did not have a license plate. Lee attempted to cross over the divided center of the highway and proceed to crash. Lee tried to restart the moped, but the officer ordered him to stop. The officer ran a computer check and found that Lee has a long history of driving offenses, including an arrest earlier this year when he was caught riding on an unlicensed moped. Lee, who also was arrested in 2021 after he tossed a cigarette from a car. Those of you that don't know, when we have a burn ban or whatever, you're not supposed to have any of that stuff thrown out of the car. Second of all, it's littering. A 60-year-old Wildwood man has been jailed after allegedly attempting to use his pickup to run over a convicted sex offender. So, William Harold Bailey went to the sex offender's residence on County Road 121 shortly before noon Thursday and aggressively confronted the sex offender, according to the arrest report. He allegedly took a swing at the sex offender, who was not identified in the report. Bailey got into his tan pickup truck and attempted to strike the sex offender, with whom Bailey has had numerous civil issues with. Bailey fled the scene prior to the arrival of law enforcement. A deputy investigating the incident found tire tracks throughout the yard at the sex offender's residence. The tracks indicated the vehicle was accelerated in a manner to travel onto the concrete porch in front of the victim's residence, where the victim was initially standing before turning to the right and traveling off of the concrete porch. Two witnesses back up the sex offender's version of what had happened. While the deputy was still on the scene, Bailey returned to the property riding a lawnmower. Well, we couldn't hit him, we'll chop him up. Bailey expressed his extreme dislike of the sex offender and said he should be strung up by a tree and cut open. Remember, folks, in a lot of areas, this is still the South. Bailey was arrested on a charge of aggravated assault. While he was being taken into custody, he complained of chest pains and was transported to UF Health, the village's hospital. Once he was medically cleared, he was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center, and bond was set at $2,500. A villager jailed in a feud with her neighbor will call upon a public defender's office for her representation in court. Janice Francis McKee, 78, of the village of Hacienda East, continues to be held without bond at the Sumter County Court. She was arrested on June 8th after allegedly trimming her neighbor's tree in what it appears to be a long-running dispute. She had been free on a $2,000 bond, but was arrested a second time and her bond was revoked. I'm not reading any more of that. You guys know the story. If you want to see more of that story, if you're new here, go back to the news reports for the last 2 or 3 weeks and you can get caught up. I just have a question about this. I brought this up once before. Do you think it's fair that taxpayers should pay for her lawyer when she lives in, say, a $400,000 or $500,000 house? Does that seem fair? I don't know what the rules are there, but just something about that don't seem right. A couple in the village just sold their long-time home for $300,000 profit. The home in the village of Hacienda South sold their home this past week for $639,000. The owners bought the home in 2012 for $337,000. They picked it up right at the right time. Previous owner bought the home in 2005 for $429,000. The original owners paid $248,000 in 1997. The home is located at 1515 La Vaca Lane, has 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. The home boasts a saltwater solar heat pool surrounded by a 36 by 22 foot screened pool enclosure. It is situated on a 0.57 acres in a cul-de-sac. Nice little tidy profit, wouldn't you say? A villager has entered a plea in an alleged golf cart road rage incident that occurred when he was on his way home from Brownwood Paddock Square. Sheldon Scott Ingstrom, 59, who lives in the village of Hammock at Finney, pleaded not guilty last week in Sumter County Court to charges of battery and resisting arrest. He remains free on a $1,000 bond. You guys know the rest of that story from, 2 weeks ago? So you can get caught up on that. I'm just trying to give you updates on some of these things and what's happening. So he's pleaded not guilty, and we'll try to keep you updated. News story. A villager on a motorcycle was nabbed on a charge of driving under the influence after a traffic stop at Palmer Legends Country Club. I like that country club. It's the most expensive country club when it comes to food and beverage than any other one in the village. Just to warn you, but I still like it. Stanton Wright, 72, of the village of Ashland, was riding a yellow Honda motorcycle at about 10 p.m. Friday when he failed to come to a stop at a stop sign at Old Mill Run and Old Camp Road. That's not unusual there. People run them stop signs constantly. He continues westbound on Old Mill Run before entering a roundabout and continuing northbound on Buena Vista Boulevard. A traffic stop was conducted at the country club. The Hartford, Connecticut native had the distinct odor of an alcoholic beverage emitting from his breath as he spoke, according to a arrest report. He was asked to provide his driver's license, but appeared to forget to request. When asked to provide a copy of his registration, Reich appeared disoriented and eventually showed the deputy a picture of his female friend. How drunk do you have to be? Reich performed poorly in field sobriety exercises. He provided breath samples that registered 0.175 and 0.158 blood alcohol content. He was arrested on a charge of driving under the influence. He was also ticketed for failure to stop at a stop sign. He was booked at Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $1,000 bond. A sport utility vehicle crashed into a tree in the median Monday morning at County Road 466. The black SUV at 9:26 a.m. was westbound on County Road 466 about 1 mile west of Morris Boulevard, traveling in the left lane when it departed from the roadway and hit the tree in the median, according to the Sumter County Sheriff's Office. Apparently, there's just no reason why. Just drove into the median and hit a tree. Playing with the cell phone, do you think? The airbags deployed upon impact. There were 4 people traveling in the SUV, but none of them were injured. There were no citations issued in the crash. A villager with a bottle of vodka in a Publix bag was arrested on a drunk driving charge when she was found in a parking lot of a local gym. A caller contacted the Sumter County Sheriff's Office late Saturday night to report seeing an elderly female stumbling to her car parked at Anytime Fitness on State Road 44. A deputy found 72-year-old Marion Natora of the Eli Villas in the village of Chitty Chatty slumped over the steering wheel of her vehicle. It appeared the Queens, New York native had been drinking. Her speech was slurred and somewhat incoherent. She also used a patrol car to brace herself. She struggled through field sobriety exercises. She provided a single breath sample, 0.190 alcohol content. She provided two more breath samples, but was unable to provide adequate samples to her breath. During an inventory of her vehicle, a half-empty 750 millimeter bottle of Smirnoff vodka was found inside a blue bag wrapped up in a public shopping bag. She was arrested on a charge of driving under the influence and booked at the Sumter County Detention Center. Bond was set at $750. She was also issued citations for refusal to submit to a breath test and possession of an open container. I'm going to give you a rundown. I'm not going to read them, I don't think, but I'm going to give you a rundown of a bunch of letters to the editor and what people talk about. I'm leaving politics out. I'm not getting into that. Here's one. The ponds in the villages look terrible. I don't live in the villages, but I love the flowers. Uncovered lawn trailers are creating a hazard. What is the cost of the flowers? Busy neighborhood streets inviting potential accidents. My maintenance rate keeps going up, and now you want to cut back on the flowers. It's easy to spend other people's money. Maybe we could make some reductions on the flowers. Who really benefits every time the flowers are changed? Let's go back to making the villages the friendly community it once was. Amen to that. Cut down on the flowers and reduce our fees. Developer has fallen short in providing safe infrastructure. Sumter County needs to put the brakes on the growth. Here's why the villages built that new high school. And I think that's about enough. A villager took a golf cart for a ride down US 301. The black Yamaha golf cart sporting an American flag was spotted traveling at about 3:45 p.m. Friday southbound on US 301. The golf cart entered the left turn lane and was soon headed eastbound on County Road 466. The driver of the golf cart was apparently unaware that golf carts are not allowed on US 301 or US 466. A villager rejected the idea of seeking a county post after he learned he would not receive the backing of the developer. Supervisor Don Deacon made the revelation on Friday during the Community Development District 4 board meeting of Savannah Center. Deacon, a resident of the village of Chatham, who also serves on the Amenity Authority Committee, said he was interested in exploring an appointment to the Marion County Commission in the wake of District 3 Commissioner Jeff Gold's abrupt resignation. Governor DeSantis will appoint Gold's successor. Do you ever wonder where the governor gets the name? He doesn't know anybody around here except the developer, really. Where does he get the name of who to appoint? This is the good old boy system at work at its finest. Given the reality of what I observed in neighboring counties, I know I would not get the appointment without the backing of the developer. That's for sure. He added that when applying for another office, in order to qualify, the applicant would have to resign from the current elected seat. For Deacon, that would mean resigning from the CDD4 of supervisors as well as the AAC. Quandary prompted Deacon to place a call to Gary Lester, the village's vice president of community relations, to inquire about the possibility of securing the developer's backing for the appointment. However, Lester told Deacon the developer would not be interested in forwarding Deacon's name to the governor's office. I thanked him for his honesty, Deacon said. A stepson who knocked his stepfather to the floor over their living arrangement in the villages has been ordered to complete a Batterers Program. William Allen Jordan, 47, was ordered earlier this month to enter into and complete a 29-week Batterers Intervention Program following an attack in April on his 75-year-old stepfather at his home on the historic site of the villages. Officers were called April 2 to the home where the stepfather said he had been knocked to the floor by a stepson who stands 5 foot 10 inches tall and weighs 200 pounds, according to a arrest report. The stepfather said Jordan was on medication and likes to mix it with alcohol. The pair had argued earlier in the day, prompting Jordan to leave for a few hours. When Jordan returned to the home, it was apparent he had been drinking. Jordan walked straight up to his father and pushed him without even saying a word. Jordan said his mother and stepfather were just not happy he was living there. No kidding. Jeez. The report indicated Jordan moved in with them in December. As he was being transported to Lake County Jail in a squad car, Jordan insisted he had done nothing wrong. He also threatened that once he got out, there will be trouble. Jordan was in Lake County Jail for about a week before he was bonded out. I wonder who bonded him out, Mommy and Daddy? Officials are questioning the expense of replacing flowers 4 times a year in the villages. Community Development District 4 Chairman Cliff Weiner said he recently watched the flowers that were changed out of his district. They looked perfectly fine, and we were replacing them. The flowers in common areas, particularly along busy thoroughfares, are changed out 4 times per year. However, Weiner said CDD4 could save $55,000 per year if one of the 4 annual flower replacements was eliminated. He said that considering CDD4 residents will be facing another hike in their maintenance assessment, $55,000 is a lot of money. In addition to replacement of the flowers 4 times a year, there's also the cost of irrigation. Deputy District Manager Carrie Duckett cautioned against making a change to a 4 time per year flower replacement schedule. This is probably the most visible thing you have in your district. The flowers coming out now may look perfect, but that's not always the case. Let me stop here and just make a comment. I've made this comment before, and I'm going to say it again. The thing that brings people to the villages and decides, I'm going to buy a home here, is I hear it over and over again, how clean it is. Do you think that's free? How pretty everything is. Do you think that's free? All the trees that are trimmed perfectly, the flowers are always blooming. I love it here. And as soon as these same people buy here because of the way things look and the way things are, they want to change it. I don't get it, never did, so I'll go on record to say I don't want nothing changed when it comes to the flowers. They're great to look at. I'm not a flower fanatic at all. I like for the place where I live to look the way it looks. So just leave it alone. Quit changing things. If you don't like it, there's other places to go. Multimodal paths will be the topic of discussion in a special meeting set for Monday at Savannah Center. The district-wide government meeting is set for 1:30 p.m. and is open to the public. The main participants, in addition to district staff, will be the chairman of community development districts from throughout the villages. Other supervisors are expected to be in the audience too. This meeting is the result of the dogged efforts of CDD4 Chairman Cliff Weiner to revive the long dormant multimodal path discussion group. Other topics on the agenda for Monday are deed compliance, community watch, and an update on the gates. I don't like this. I'm going to tell you what they're trying to get done here, and I've been on record on this too. I don't care what they do in their district. It's their district. Those people live there. They can vote for whatever they want to vote on because they're going to be paying for it. It's in their district. This board here is trying to push through all of the villages different things that they want to see done in their neighborhood, but they want it pushed through all of the villages, and I'm against that whatsoever. Number one is they want all the golf cart paths with striping on it, and I think that's ridiculous. If you can't see well enough to drive in most of these golf cart paths, then you shouldn't be driving at all, especially at night. But that's just one of the things they want done. So I'm against it. Stay out of District 10. I don't want you here. So with that being said, that'll be this week's news. Don't leave your keys in the golf cart.